Only the children of light is gonna understand this.
For there are three philosophical sects among the Jews, the followers of the first of which are the Pharisees, of the second, the Sadducees, and the third sect, and the third sect, and the third sect, which pretends to a severer discipline, are called deceived. These last are Jews by birth, and Jews by birth, and
This is the knowledge of the blessing, brotherhood. This is the knowledge of the blessing, brotherhood. This is the knowledge of the blessing, brotherhood. Take it back to the way that it was in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
Once
okay.
again, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath. First and foremost, we want to give all praise be unto the Most High, Almighty, Yahweh Yeshua Christ, our Lord, our God, our Savior, who the world calls Jesus Christ. This is the SC Community Church of Christ. My name is Archbishop Shamar.
And my name is Bishop Arak.
And we be bringing you the Sabbath report / lesson. All right, and we're going into a important lesson, important reminder. As we're getting closer and closer to the times, all right, and the culture that we're in, urban culture, fashion culture, right, and just the things that are happening in the earth, all right, and we're just taking a look at the things that happened past times, all right, and we've expounded on this before, but we're going to expound on it again. Right, just how we even got into the state of the world that it is right now. All right, and there was one main problem, and this main problem kind of gets overlooked a lot. All right, especially by those who it could be affected by, right, which could be, as you're gonna see in this lesson, women. All right, so women could kind of overlook it and not understand the importance of why certain things was passed after these times. All right, but we're going to go and highlight these things again and go into the scriptures and analyze them, right, and bring about proper edification. All right, so once again, we're going into the fallen angels and giants, the revelation of the flesh. All right, so we're going into the fallen angels, the giants, but the main thing about this, once again, is the revelation of the flesh. So we're going into the understanding of what is the revelation of the flesh. And once again, the Vatican, those who control scripture, doctrine, they've done a good job trying to hide these certain information that will make people understand more clearly why things of past times happen and why there's things being said and put in place to ensure or try to avoid it happening again. As a reminder, so once again, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. We're going to go into the Sabbath report / lesson. It's the fallen angels and the giants, the revelation of the flesh. Did you get to put it inside?
Yeah, I put it in already.
All right, so once again, fallen angels and giants, the revelation of the flesh. And we're going to start at Isaiah 53 and 1.
It's the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 1. Who had believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
All right, so who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? All right, so who will believe the report, All right. And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? We always go to the scripture. Why? All right. Because we've been going into what's belief. We're going to go with it again and again and again. All right. Belief is being willing. Who's going to be willing after they hear the report to do the things that is required and said, all right, from the Most High God? All right. Who believes the report? Who's willing to do the things of the report? All right. And who is the arm of the Most High been revealed? Who's the power of God been revealed to? All right. These are the deciding questions before anything. This is why we start the lesson off. All right. This is actually the first verse in the 53rd chapter. All right. Right off the bat, who's going to believe our report, and who is the power of God been revealed to? All right, so once again, we're going to go to the scriptures to ensure that they're interpreted, translated, and taught correctly. That scripture is actually in the wrong place. All right, but we're going to go to Sirach 1 and 6. We'll come back to them.
It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach out of the Apocrypha. Chapter 1, verse 6, starting at the 6th verse. To whom had the root of wisdom been revealed, or who had known her wise counsels? Unto whom had the knowledge of wisdom been made manifest, and who had understood her great experience?
All right, so unto whom has the root of wisdom been revealed? Who has known her wise counsel? This is kind of a riddle. Why? Because those who have been revealed to this, they're going to have more depth information than those that have not. All right, those who know the entity wisdom, all right, the God wisdom, who's a part of the Godhead, all right, are going to have more understanding than those who don't know the fullness of her. All right, because whether people believe it or not, from all the philosophy schools, all of that, from the Greeks, the Romans, they all spoke about Sophia. All right, Sophia and personified wisdom. All right, and even in the scriptures, they tell us wisdom. All right, wisdom is an entity. All right, part of the Godhead. One of the three of the Godhead. All right. To whom has the knowledge of wisdom made manifest? Who understands her? Because once again, as the scriptures explain, the knowledge of wisdom, she is like the spirit of man that's within man. So the same information that you know, all the little secrets that you know inside of you, because you yourself is inside of you and knows everything. She's that one inside the Most High who knows everything. All right, who does understand her great experience? Because who understands her to be able to bring her forth? Or a lot of people, and this is why she's in Proverbs saying at the beginning, I was there doing all of this stuff. And we all know in the urban culture when they say, hey, I was there with you shooting in the gym. All right, meaning she was there with you the whole time. People might not have seen, but she's now making her claim that, hey, I was there with you the whole time. All right, so we're going to go to Matthew 24 and 37. Once again, this is fallen angels and the giants, revelation of the flesh. We're at Matthew 24, 34.
37?
Oh, yes, sorry. Matthew 24, there's a 36 one up here. It's supposed to be inside of there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, starting at verse 36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
All right, so it says, but the day and the hour no man knoweth. No, not the angels of heaven, but the Father only, which it's a riddle because he's the Father as well. All right, but he's telling you, because now he's in the flesh, that only God knows. All right, no man, no angel, only the Father. All right, but he gives us a hint. All right, but as the days of Noah were, so the same way the days of Noah were, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man. So the same way it was in the days of Noah, it's going to be the same way it is when Christ is on the way back to the earth. And it says, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking. And it's who is eating and drinking? Because we eat and drink right now. We marry and give into marriage. All right. They're talking about, and this is what we're going to be speaking about, the angels and women. They were eating and drinking. They were marrying. They were being given into marriage. And all of that was happening in the earth until the day that Noah entered into the ark. All right. So all this madness was happening, and it was continuously happening until God put Noah in the ark and made it come to a stop. All right. And it says, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So it took all of them away while they were in the behaviors that they were exhibiting. And it says, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So Christ is saying this. He's saying directly and giving us the hint that, hey, the same things that was transpiring before the flood, that's going to be the same things that's happening. All right. And it's once again, Satan, what would he do? He would take away the information from the flood. So if you ask people what happened before the flood, all you're going to hear in the scriptures, and we're reading it, is this happened before the flood. But the information to review before the flood is not in the Bible. All right. It's in the book of Enoch. All right. The book is mentioned in the Bible. All right. And there has been debates about it until once again it was found also in the Dead Sea Scrolls belonging to the Essenes in their library. All right. And those copies being older and the oldest. All right. That they found, in contrast with other copies of different records, Jasher and all different other records that help bring the full story to a complete understanding, which we're going to go into today. All right, so we're at Ecclesiastes 1 and 9.
The thing that had been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It had already been of old time, which was before us.
All right, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. It lets us know that thing that has been is that which shall be. And Christ just sums it up. That's what he's saying. Like, once again, a universal principle we're understanding is that the Old Testament is being replayed again. So the same riddle that we're seeing here in Ecclesiastes, Christ is just telling them again, yo, you want to know the answer? The same way I hear the same thing that happened before the flood, the same thing is going to happen again because it's the end of the world again. He's telling them it's the same things transpired. The same way. He's like, you want to analyze it? Here's how to analyze it. Go back and look at the same thing. All right, because there's no new thing under the sun. All right, so you want to know how the end of the world would be? Look at the last end of the world. That's what he's saying. All right, use law of nature principle. Christ taught with the law of nature. All right, he said compare. We have two different eras of the world. All right, the world and what was happening and when it came to an end and then it restarted again. He's saying we're in the restart. You're talking about the end when I'm coming. Go back and look at the first end. And it's the same thing, behavior that will bring it to an end again. All right, we're at Genesis 6 and 4. We're going to get right into these scriptures.
There were giants in the earth in those days, and after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
All right, so there were giants in the earth in those days. What days? The days of the flood. And also after that. After what days? After the days of the flood. So it's telling you there's giants in the days of the flood when he destroyed it, and after he destroyed it, there were still giants. So the flood didn't destroy all giants. The Bible even tells us that. All right. And what people will say is, oh, the sons of God are men. The sons of God. There's no other scripture where man and woman come into each other and they're like the sons of God are coming into the daughters of men. There's no reason to elaborate in that way to let you know sons of God are dealing with who? Daughters of men. They usually just tell you who the family line is and all of that. But they're being specific that these sons of God are taking daughters that belong to men. All right, these sons of God are angels. That's what we're going to go and see. All right, and their children became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. And these are all these different names that, once again, you guys are going to go to school in here. You're going to hear about Zena. You're going to hear about Goliath. You're going to hear about even different stories, Jack and the Beanstalk. All right, all these stories are coming from this source here. All right, you're going to hear about what's some of the Greek gods? Zeus. All right, all these Zeus, all of them, these are all men of renown that they're talking about, where their renownedness and fame went out. Their children got strength, all of this, and they became myths, stories to become all your TV shows and all of this stuff today that they still using. All right, so these are the men of renown. Their children who were now mixed in became renowned, worldwide famous. Guess what they were? They were stars. Guess who stars are today? When you say a star is known as what? Someone who's renowned. But we know stars are what? Angels. So once again, they're just doing the same thing again, telling you that the renowned people of the world, they're stars, going back into those days of the flood. All right, so we're at verse 5.
And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them.
All right. So he's saying that there's great wickedness that was in the earth that was being done. Every imagination that they wanted to do, they were thinking to do, and it was happening. All right. Their heart was evil continually. All right. He said he's going to destroy man who he's made on the face of the earth. And we all know that what that came by the flood. All right. But just once again, looking at these pictures, all right, these are the artifacts. All right, this artifacts in Asia. These are the artifacts, or I should say the sculptures that people and them themselves were carving to imitate what they were seeing. So right here, you can see how big that giant sculpture is in contrast to people. And we're just going to go into the scriptures to be like, you know what? Is this just that they wanted to do this stuff, or were they really depicting what they were seeing? All right. So those people are about as big as the pinky toe. All right. In contrast to it. All right. So what are we? So we're understanding there was giants in the days of the flood and after. All right. The sons of God, all right, which are the angels, took daughters of men and mated with them. They had children who were men of renown and mighty men. So they were mighty. They were men of renown, well known. All right. And the wickedness was great. And the Most High decided to bring the flood. This is the events that he's saying is going to transpire again. Right? He's saying it's going to happen again. All right, we're going to continue.
All right, this is out of the book of Genesis chapter 6, starting at the 4th verse. This is out of the Aramaic Peshitta or Peshitta. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also after that. For the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. And they became giants who in the olden days were mighty men of renown.
All right, so in the olden days, once again, it's stressing again that these giants, these children, were mighty men of renown. All right. And we're just going into these artifacts. All right. And maybe, once again, people don't see them, but this is in the world. People have to explain these things, where they're coming from. Why are they so big? Why are they seeing them? These are the great wonders of the world. All right. That is depicted. All right. And they would like to tell you that these things, right, were just for art. All right, so we're going to look at this. This is the Colossi of Memnon. All right, and this is an artifact in Egypt.
All right. So this is World History Encyclopedia, the Colossi of Memnon. The Colossi of Memnon, also known as El Colossat or El Shalamat, are two monumental statues representing Amenhotep III of the 18th dynasty of Egypt. They are located west of the modern city of Luxor and face east looking toward the Nile River. The figures rise 60 feet or 18 meters high and weigh 720 tons each, both carved from single blocks of sandstone.
All right, so these statues were in representation of their leader at that time. All right, the leader of the dynasty. All right, and you're going to see that these leaders in Egypt and all of that, all of them got mixed in with the angels. All right, and once again, the men of renown, they usually became leaders. A leader is going to be the person who's the biggest, the strongest. So you're going to know that these leaders, they would become what? Or these giants will become what? The leaders of the people. All right, because how are you going to stop them? All right, so we see that this is 60 feet. All right, we're going to continue. So we're going to go to the Josephus, which is going to elaborate further on who these sons of God were.
This is the works of Flavius Josephus, the Antiquity of the Jews, Book 1, Chapter 2, concerning the posterity of Adam and the 10 generations from him to the deluge. For many angels of God accompanied with women and begat sons that proved unjust and despisers of all that was good, on account of the confidence they had in their own strength. For the tradition is that these men did what resembled the acts of those whom the Grecians called giants.
All right, so he's telling you here. All right, so Josephus stresses out he's not going to use sons of God. All right, he's saying the angels of God, clarifying it for us. For many angels of God accompanied with women, they begat sons that were unjust, despisers of all that was good. So these children were wicked children, despise all that was good. And why? Because they had extreme confidence. Remember, they're in the flesh now. The flesh has all of this stuff. They're now born into Adam and the sin of Adam and all of that. They're now prideful. That pride that even Satan had, that's even gone up more now under them. And why? Because imagine us here with all that power, all that strength. So they're saying on account of the confidence they had in their own strength, which goes back to what I was saying, why they became leaders. They're saying we're powerful. How can you guys stop us? And once again, the tradition is that these men did what resembled the acts of those whom the Greeks call giants. And we're going into all those stories about the giants and all the sculptures and all this stuff, Greek mythology.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Because that's what the Titans did. They climbed up to Mount Olympus, try to fight God. And what did they do in the Bible?
Yeah. So there's the Olympus, there's the Clash of the Titans. These are all movies, all right? That was in theater. All right, here we have, right, it says a representation of Gilgamesh, all right, from the Syrian Empire. The Sumerian, I should say Sumerian. All right. And we're seeing here, and it says it's a possible representation of Gilgamesh, master of animals. And once again, he has a lion in his left arm. So he has a lion in his left arm. That's a lion. You know how big a lion is? All right. So he's able to hold a lion like someone will hold a little chihuahua. All right. A little bigger than the chihuahua. All right. But you get what I'm saying. He's holding it like it's a dog that you could pick up. But it's a lion. And he has a snake in his right hand. All right, so he's flexing his power. The same thing that we just read in Josephus. That they had confidence in their strength. He's like, you want to take a picture? All right, cool. He manhandles a lion and then takes a snake and he's like, yo, take the picture. But they didn't have pictures back then. You see? So he's like, yo, carve me. Right? Yeah, he's right here. Carve me real quick. And this is what they did. All right, but they're exhibiting the same confidence that we're speaking about, and these are unrelated artifacts to each other. This is textual artifact that's coming back to us, and this is actual structure here displaying the same confidence that they're talking about that these people had. All right, now we're going into the root cause of all of this. All right, and once again, it's taken out of there. All right, it's taken out of the Genesis. This is why we're going back into the Aramaic, and the Aramaic, so the whole story and all of this is where the Most High's name was placed in Syria. This is why they attack in Syria. This has been a place where the Most High is used for refuge, for his name, for texts, for all of that. All right, so we're going into the Targum, Aramaic, and we're going to analyze Genesis 6 and 4 again. We've just been on the same scripture analyzing what's happening at the flood, prior to the flood. All right, so we're at Genesis 6 and 4.
All right, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 4, the Aramaic Targums. It's also called the Babylonian Targums as well. And it was when the sons of men began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and fair daughters were born to them. And the sons of the great saw the daughters of men were beautiful, and painted and curled, walking with revelation of the flesh, and the imaginations of wickedness, that they took them wives of all who pleased them. And the Lord said by his word, all the generations of the wicked which are to arise shall not be purged after the order of the judgments of the generation of the deluge, which shall be destroyed and exterminated from the midst of the world. Have I not imparted my Holy Spirit to them, or placed my Holy Spirit in them, that they may work good works? And behold, their works are wicked. Behold, I will give them a prolongment of 120 years, that they may work repentance and not perish. Shamakazai and Uziel who fell from heaven, were on the earth in those days, and also after the sons of the great had gone in with the daughters of men, they bare to them. And these are they who are called men who are of the world, men of names.
All right, so it gives us a further in the Genesis. We're seeing that they've been trying to strip what Christ told us. He said, go back, analyze, see the things before the flood. That's how it's going to happen when I'm coming. And then when we're going to analyze, we're seeing it stripped of the information that was before the flood. And we're going to have to retrieve it to get the full story again of what happened. They didn't just go on to daughters of men out of nowhere. There was a root cause problem here, all right? The daughters were fair daughters, beautiful daughters were being born onto the sons of men. Beautiful, painted, curled, all right? So now we're getting some details. What the women were beautiful. They began painting, so this stuff was not done before. They start curled. I don't know what curled is. They're saying they fit. I don't know what they're saying, all right? Curled, walking with revelation of the flesh. So now I got to think that curled is a little something, sexual. But walking with revelation of flesh. So what are they saying? They start showing their bodies. The angels start seeing their bodies. And not only was the angel seeing their bodies, they in their mind had imaginations of wickedness. So they wanted to go, and this is what you see right now. Oh, they just want to go to the what? To the juver and go, and yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to go, they want to brook loose. All right, so not only have the revelation of the flesh, but the desires to do badness. That's what they call it. Yeah. Yeah. So they were, once again, going back. The daughters, they didn't just take daughters. What is it saying? This is what we're going into, that the angels, and these angels, they're called watchers. While they're watching, they're like, yo, the woman, they're exposing themselves. Right? The women, they're forgetting that, once again, we don't believe people are watching. So this is why we're going to this. Be like, no one's watching me. No one's watching me. Once again, and they're being watched. And then now you angel come down like, yo, what are we seeing? We seen David. We seen that the flesh, when it sees stuff exposed, David is there. He's seeing the woman shower. He's like, yo, and now he has to bring that about. So we're seeing how deep this flesh thing is when men see flesh. And women know that too. This is why they wear the stuff they wear. They know, and then they wonder why, why they in my DM now? They're going to post something on the social and be like, oh, yeah, my DM going to be full now. You know your DM going to be full now because this is the thing that works the flesh. Men see flesh, and then once again, the flesh itself, people who is in their flesh and desires, it starts come. Sometimes they can't help it. And then when women start to realize that, once again, they could see now who's weak in their flesh and who they can actually use, because they're like, hey, this man is weak in his flesh. He's here at the doorstep. And that's what happened with the angels. The angel came and once again, revelation of the flesh, seeing the woman's flesh. Now he's ready to take them wives who they all please. All right, and the Most High saying by the word of God, who's Christ, all the generations of the wicked are to arise, shall not be purged after the order of the judgments of the generation of the deluge. All right, so he's saying they're not going to go through the same things that this generation went through, which is this flood, which he made sure of that after by giving us the rainbow. All right. And in here as well, it tells us about the prolongment of the 120 years. So even in the other Genesis, it didn't tell us nothing about the 120 years and the preaching and all of that. You have to go into Jasher. All right. But there was a prolonged time, a period where the Most High is telling them, hey, this is going to happen. And Noah was going around. All right. So we're going into Revelation.
It's the etymology of revelation, which is a noun. 1300, revelation. Quote, disclosure of information or knowledge to man by a divine or supernatural agency. From Old French, revelation, and directly from Latin, revelationem, noun of action, past participle, stem of revelare, unveil, uncover, lay bare.
All right. So revelation, all right, disclosure of information, all right, could be divine, supernatural, all right, where we're getting into the more cardinal, it's unveil, uncover, lay bare. So they were unveiling themselves, uncovering themselves, laying bare. They were revealing themselves. They were revealing their flesh. All right, and this is the perfect depiction here, as you're going to see. It was full of colors. It was full of all of that. This right here is the perfect depiction of what they were doing before the flood. All right, so they were presenting themselves, and they were presenting themselves in skin, which was never done before. So they weren't behaving like that prior. It was a new behavior that the watchers were observing. All right, so we're going to continue.
This is the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 20. Ravishing music, strong drink loosed among the sons of Cain. They don colorful clothing. The children of Seth look on with longing eyes. They revolt from wise counsel. They descend the mountain into the valley of iniquity. They cannot ascend the mountain again.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is also now the book of Enoch, chapter 20, starting at the 20.
No, not the book. That's a book, second book I had of me.
Oh, my apologies. So chapter 20, starting at the 29th verse. Enoch at that time was already grown up, and in his zeal for God, he arose and said, hear me, O ye sons of Seth, small and great, when ye transgress the commandment of our fathers, and go down from this holy mountain, ye shall not come up hither again forever.
All right, and there's no new thing under the sun. So this mountain, and the mountain is a resemblance of the church. You're going to see the mountain is where you could run to. The mountain is where the Most High was always at. It was the physical representation of the church before he started building the church. All right, but basically they're in this safe zone. You're in the mountain. They're there. They want to go down and do what the children of Cain are beginning to do. The children of Cain are in their flesh. Enoch is now telling them, yo, if you go back into the river, if you go down there, you're not going to come back up here ever again. All right. And this is even what we tell people. If you go into the world and you go into the flesh, it's going to be hard for you to come back up that mountain again. All right. This is what Enoch is telling them actually physically now at these times. All right. But continue for us.
Verse 30. But they rose up against Enoch and would not hearken to his words, but went down from the holy mountain.
All right. So you're going to see this about people. All right. of the bloodline coming down from Adam, of Israel, when the individual who the Most High is putting in place and telling individuals, yo, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. No one want to hear that. Like, yo, who are you? You're not the Most High. You're not this, you're not that. They're like, yo, move out the way. We going down the hill, brother. All right, so people tend to not want to listen to who the Most High has put in place as the leader. And this is what we're seeing here. They're like, oh, forget what you're saying. You're not the boss. You're not the leader. You're not God. All right, so they're like, move out the way, Enoch, as we go down to the iniquity. All right, but continue for us.
Verse 31. And when they looked at the daughters of Cain, at their beautiful figures, and at their hands and feet dyed with color, and tattooed in ornaments on their faces, the fire of sin was kindled in them. Then Satan made them look most beautiful before the sons of Seth, as he also made the sons of Seth a pair of the fairest in the eyes of the daughters of Cain, so that the daughters of Cain lusted after the sons of Seth like ravenous beasts, and the sons of Seth after the daughters of Cain, until they committed abomination with them.
All right, so we're seeing now. All right, they rose up against Enoch. They wouldn't listen to him. All right, they went down. They looked at the daughters of Cain. All right, what did they see? They see, yo, body. I see body, figure, hourglass, skin.
What stands out too, the face tattoo is really big now. Even women are getting their faces all tatted up, and it's like in style. Back then, people have a 1-2 tattoo, and where it's blown to the proportion now, where it's like non-tattooed people are the minority. And it says right here, you know, and tattooed ornaments in their faces. That's happening.
Which they had the ornaments, yeah. Which I think more to they talk about ornaments, not really tattooed, but they're saying that it could seem tattooed because it's on their face per se. All right, but just like what I'm displaying in the picture here. All right, they have ornaments on their face, color, dye, body ashore, feet dyed with color, ornaments on face, fire of sin kindled. It sounds like caravana. Sounds like a carnival. All right, so this is where carnival. We went into this. This is where carnival and all this stuff stems from. All right, so once again, when we're analyzing the story, angels didn't just jump down and said, hey, we want daughters of men. There was a behavior that was happening, and the Son of Man, or Christ, is saying that when he comes back, the same things will be exhibited and happening in the earth again. The same behavior, the same lust, the same desires will be happening again that will cause the bringing about of him coming to the world again, which will bring it to a stop again. And what is the root cause that bringing it about? We're seeing it's the revelation of the flesh. It's flesh. It's the desires. All right. It's women who Satan taught how to do certain things that they didn't know how to do. The color, the dye, the this, and to make themselves more desirable. All right. And what was that to do? It was what? To bring in the sons of Seth, which is the holy ones, to bring them in to a sin. All right. And while this is happening, while Satan is doing this, the angels, they're being enticed. So it not only enticed the sons of Seth, all right, but it eventually goes and entices the angels. All right. But the reason why it was happening, the reason why the women started to change the way that they were dressing and looking was because Satan was trying to take out the sons of Seth through sinful desire first. And through doing that, all right, we see the fall of other angels. Once again, these angels that fell were separate from Satan. These were just watchers. They weren't part of Satan. They weren't part of the angels that fell. All right, they're separate. They're the watchers now that are falling, separate from when Satan fell.
Just to add to as well, when it comes to the comparison of being on the mountain and looking down, just think about in societies or in cities where you have uptown and downtown, or you have uptown, which is like the suburbs. There's a lot of family, it's family oriented. But then if you go downtown, downtown is always lively. There's always parties going on downtown. A lot of things happen downtown. Even Caravana over here is actually held like downtown by the water there.
That event would never be held uptown. It's not an uptown event. It's a downtown event because once again we're seeing downtown even from the scriptures like he's showing is where the sin happens. It happens down while the righteousness happens up, right? Same thing as going up north. If people go know they're going up north, you're going into more calm, cool, collective areas. All right.
To get away from downtown.
So we're gonna go to Enoch now. We're at Enoch 7:1.
It's the book of Enoch, chapter 7, starting at the first verse. And all others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them and to devour themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones.
All right. So just elaborating again that the angels went and they took themselves wives. These group of angels, they made a pact together that they're going to go and, we want some of these women. We want to take women for ourselves. We're going to do this sin together. All right. And they began to go and defile themselves with women. All right. And with the defiling of themselves, we went into this in the root of sickness lesson. All right. When we start showing the medicines and all of that, and Noah being taught medicines, but then where the other type of medicine starts coming from, all right, witchcraft and all of that comes from the women. And how did women become witches? How did women know these crafts and stuff? How did they begin to know that? They knew that from the angels. The angels started to pillow talk and tell women the secrets of men. So women became accustomed to knowing potions, love potions, all these other things, which now this is why everybody knows, hey, there's witches. Witches, what are witches and what they do. All right, so it was women who was given this divine knowledge from angels first, because the angels was sleeping with them, and we're going to see why they gave this information. All right, so the angels, the children that came from them, which were giants, all right, started to eat everything on the earth, started to eat everything. This is where we have what? Jack and the Beanstalk, that story. Youth are here. Anyone remember the Jack and the Beanstalk story? Somebody give me that. No, we want one of the youth right here. Give us to us. Jack and the Beanstalk. Who knows? What happens with Jack and the Beanstalk?
That's what Generation X, brother.
We're gonna see. We're trying to see that they're familiar. Let them go in their head. If no one, then we go to the older generation.
Planted a bean, and then it grew so tall, and he climbed up to see what was up there, and it was a giant, and it tried to eat him.
They tried to eat him, and then what was going? What did he have to do to the giant? You forgot? You had to kill it. Well, all right. Who else? Anybody else?
What song was he singing? Because they're humans.
Good. Well, he had to feed them. They had to feed him. He couldn't feed them. They trying to eat Jack. They trying to eat the people. All right. So the same thing is happening in the story where now they're going to eat the people. All right. So this is the stories here. All right. That, you can't feed me. All right. Then you're going to get eat now.
Must be a light snack.
Yeah. Right there real quick. Yeah. All right. So they were using men to get all the food they want. And when they couldn't get it, the giants turned against mankind. And this is where the complaint went up to be like, hey, we need help down here. And then they began to sin against birds, beasts, reptiles, fish. They're devouring one another's flesh. They're drinking blood. And then the whole earth now is making accusations, screaming out to the Most High against the lawless ones that are down there terrorizing the earth. All right. And them sinning against birds, beasts, reptiles, fish. It's the same thing. We hear about bestiality, all of that stuff. So it's not just, they went and they ate fish and bird. No. This is how we have half man, half animal, half this. Yes. Okay. So we're going to continue. All right, we're at Testament of Reuben 5:1. We're just elaborating further and further in the same Genesis 6:4, but using other sources that's giving us a clear understanding of what happened and why Christ is telling us to pay attention. The same things will happen. Given into marriage, marrying, eating, drinking, all this stuff happening before the flood came. This was what's happening. All right, so we're at Testament of Reuben 5:1.
This is the testament of Reuben out of the testament of the 12 patriarchs, chapter 5, verse 1. For evil are women, my children.
All right, and just going in again, all people are, once again, we're all sinners, meaning we're all evil. But once again, the woman is the example of the flesh. All right, Adam said, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Now, this sin desire that is in mankind, that's in us, that makes us sin or whatever, is even more so in women because they're the example of the flesh. All right, and this is what Reuben is letting them know that, hey, this desire, women have this innate desire in them that's going to be even further more than yours because they are the flesh. And once again, we know that the flesh, sin has entered into the flesh and made the flesh even more weaker. So he's showing you the women are more weaker, which is making them more eviler. All right, because their desire for the flesh, the fleshly things, when they're in their flesh. Now, the scriptures always say the woman, when she turns masculine, which is spiritual, all right, not that she gets like manly, but she turns spiritual, right? She's now coming out of her flesh, out of the lust that she would be in. All right, and this is just elaborating on that because people could take it different way. Be like, oh, women are evil. They're not getting, once again, the law of nature principle that's being used here. All right, but continue again for us. Start from the beginning.
So this is the testament of Reuben, once again out of the testament of the 12 patriarchs, chapter 5, verse 1. For evil are women, my children, and since they have no power or strength over man, they use wiles by outward attractions that they may draw him to themselves.
All right, so this is what he's saying. He's saying that, once again, women, they were born with a lesser strength than a man, where they can't overpower and just take over a man by brute strength. All right, but what happened? The women were taught arts by the angels. All right, so now these arts, they use these arts. So what are these arts? They first go into the arts is what? Right, outward attractions that they try to go and bewitch the individual with first. All right, so this is why they call bewitching, because they're using techniques that the witches knew to draw individuals to them outwardly.
I just want to point out something too. Like, keep in mind, like, this is back then. Men were even stronger back then. You know, you can't. These are warrior men. Like, you can't. You know, look at Samson. She had to like trick him, right? Today, yeah, there's some women that can outpower men, right? But that's even more of a sign of the time too. How much the man is emasculated, right? And on all the things they're putting in the food and everything, right? So it's just to point out that back then they would even need to use this even more so, because the women back then would get crushed.
No, yeah, even more so. All right, so now they're using bewitching stuff outwardly to overcome the man by craft. All right, so they're using the techniques the angels taught them to usurp power over the man. So they're like, hey, man is over us. We want to usurp man of this power. And they're using the techniques that was taught to them by the fallen ones to usurp this power. All right, so continue for us.
And whom they cannot bewitch by outward attractions, him they overcome by craft. For moreover, concerning them, the angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men, and in their heart they plot against men, and by means of their adornment they deceive first their minds, and by the glance of the eye instill the poison, and then through the accomplished the accomplished act, they take them captive. For a woman cannot force a man openly, but by a harlot's bearing she beguiles him.
All right, so it's showing us here that and this is Reuben being given this information. And once again, Reuben is testifying against this. Who is Reuben again? Reuben lost the priesthood. All right. He lost the stuff because he was taken. He went onto the mother's bed. Onto his father's bed and slept with the woman. So he's telling them, yo, how he even fell into this lust. He's like, yo, this is how I'm falling into the lust. He lost that by going and sleeping with his father's own woman. And now he's telling them, yo, this is the nature. Yo, this is how they begot. He lost everything. We're going into Samson. How did Samson lose? Samson lost it because the woman was plotting on him. So the angels are just showing Reuben, and Reuben is now telling his children this secret. Because once again, people didn't have the law of nature to show them, hey, the woman is the flesh. But a lot of the women's world, and even in this world, there's always jokes that, hey, the woman's world in society is a secret. All right. There's no book written on it to this, while the men's is wide open. The men's stuff and what men do is wide open, all in the air. Women know, everybody know how men operate and behave. Right. But there's a mystery about the way a woman thinks and how she operates. All right.
There's some women that are really quiet, really in a certain way, and they're watching for any kinks in the man's armor, any weaknesses to try to manipulate, and that goes into Delilah too. That comes from that there, right? To take him down, right?
Correct. All right. So it shows him. And so he's saying the angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men. Why? Because the angel of the Lord knows the mystery. What's the mystery? Women, Adam said, this is flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone, right? They're the weaker one. So their flesh is naturally weaker than a man's flesh. So their desires are going to be stronger than a man's desire for certain things that are evil. This is just natural law of nature. But that can't be told to everybody. So now the angel is the one that's telling it to Reuben that, hey, this is a secret. I'm telling you why. Because you got taken over by this. All right. The angel of the Lord told me and taught me that women are overcome by the spirit of fornication more than men. And in their heart, they plot against men. And by means of their adornment, they deceive first their minds. All right, so by their adornment, that's how they're deceiving the mind of the man, and then by the glance of the eye. So the angels taught them about the science of eyes and what to do with the eyes and how the eyes and painting them do certain things to the individual. Now, because we see it all the time, now it's like, oh, it's nothing now. But back then, when you seen that, it was once again, whoa, this woman is done up. It does something to kind of put them in a daze. All right, so it says, by the glance of the eye instill the poison, and then through the accomplished act, they take them captive. So, and this is why, going back to what the scriptures say, flee fornication, that once again, men get taken down through sexual sin, which is, hey, they're either messing with somebody else's wife, which actually that's what it is. All right. And this is what these women usually do. Because remember, when the woman is under the husband, she can't go to nobody else. So a lot of the times they see the men can, the woman can't. So now the woman is trying to go and convince men that they're not taken. And this is how these desires happen, because the man falls. Once he goes into sexual sin, that's the man falling out of himself. So that's how they take him out captive, because now they're able to have that man commit sexual sin. And now he's not in the good standing with the Lord. He's out of standing with God. And that's what happened to Reuben. He lost everything. He lost his priesthood that got given to Levi. Actually, he lost the priesthood and the kingship. He was supposed to have them both. He lost it, and it was split to Levi and the other one to Judah. All right. For those who are online today, the SC Georgia body went through that information today. All right. So it says, once again, why do women do this? Because a woman cannot force a man openly. She can't say, yo, and rape him. That doesn't happen. Men don't get taken advantage of like that unless they're young and the woman's older and more of strength. But usually when a man goes and says, oh, a woman took me down, they're going to be like, all right, that doesn't really sound believable. All right. But continue for us.
Flee therefore fornication, my children, and command your wives and your daughters that they adorn not their heads and faces to deceive the mind, because every woman who used these wiles had been reserved for eternal punishment.
All right, so it says, command your wives and your daughters that they adorn not their heads and their faces to deceive the mind. All right, so their intentions, why they're doing these things, all of this, they should not be adorning to deceive. They should not be using these things to deceive. All right. And using them very, once again, just, hey, you want to highlight some things or whatever, but not pouring it on, knowing that, hey, you're in territory right now that's very sensitive according to God, history, what's happening in the world. Right? But sometimes when we read it, they be like, oh, who cares? Da, 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 da. Right? But we're just going into, this is world history. This changed the way the world operated. This brought in a flood. This brought in killing. So it's not a small thing as much as we can be like, oh, it's just makeup. It's just this. It's just clothes. It's just my body.
Yeah, they call it face contouring. So makeup is one thing, but when you're contouring and the layers and the techniques, and that's why when you go online, you'll see there's a spirit behind it, because there's a lot of females that have that same look, even though they're not related. It's because of the makeup that they have on their face and how it's done. Yeah, they all look the same. Yeah, from contouring.
Right. And just once again, looking again where it's the heavy stuff, where it's changing the person's skin, it's covering everything up, it's changing them. They look like a different person when it's done, a different individual when it's done.
That's why it's called makeup. It's not real. They made it up. So
And then there's also the bleaching factor that's going on too.
Yes, yes. All right. So even more, because now they're realizing the skin and how lighter skin appeases people's eyes more and all that. So this is what people are doing.
and AI and filters.
Yep, AI filters, all of that. So it's getting even more online now than even before.
Show me a picture with stretch marks.
You know what? There's people now, they want to see that now. Certain
Yeah.
ones, yeah. Because they don't see it anymore. But
It's not real. Everything is filtered out.
All right, but continue for us.
for thus they allured the watchers who were before the flood. For as these continually beheld them, they lusted after them. And they conceived the fact in their mind, for they changed themselves into the shape of men, and appeared to them when they were with their husbands. And the women lusting in their minds after their forms gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them as reaching even unto heaven.
All right, so this is where we're getting more of the story, because women can be like, oh, the angels came. How could a woman just, like, isn't that rape? The woman just, they overpowered the woman and just took it. So how is it woman's fault or this? So they're showing you these men, what they did, where these angels, what they did. All right, first of all right, this art that the woman took up, right, made the angels, the watchers, allure after them. All right, and they were continually beholding the women after they're watching them, and now they're lusting after them. And now in their mind, they already thinking or already like, oh man, what I'll do with that female, what I'll do with that woman. And now when that's in their mind now, they're like, yo, aren't I an angel? Can I change it? Don't I send man message and turn into man? So now he turned into a man now. Guess what kind of man they turned into? The most beautiful man. All right, the man of your dream. So you have a husband, and guess what? Boom, the man of your dream popped up by you while you're coming from work.
The one that you thought of
The
in your
one,
mind.
yeah, the one you thought of in your mind pops up and says, yo, I'm here, da-da-da, hotel ready, husband don't know nothing. And the woman decided it wasn't an act of rape where they're taking them, all right? The R word, let's say that,
Yeah.
all right? It wasn't an act of that where they're forcing them by force. They changed into their perfect man, and they committed adultery on their husband, knowing that they have this lust in them already.
So the perfect man doesn't really exist unless you're an angel.
All right. So he turned into the perfect man for them, and they lusted after their forms and gave birth to giants. And all of this is in the movie by Nicolas Cage, City of Angels. All right, so you can watch the movie The City of Angels, and you'll see that in there, them depicting that. So this is all in movies. This is all in everything. All right, so this is in the City of Angels. All right, so these angels, once again, turned into men that were beautiful to the women. The women were now, damn. Once again, and this is what I'm saying to men, because men, right now, women probably like, oh, shoot. Men, we're kind of like, this happens? Yeah, the angel tell them this is the secret. They hide this. Once again, we know, women, they're the example of the flesh, sin, all of that. We know because we're sinners too. And we know that what? The first thing sinners do is hide everything about them. Right? We hide the stuff. So you're not going to hear their thoughts, or they're not going to tell you about this. All right? This is why the angel's telling them. This is why we go into why the Most High says, hey, the same way that the spirit of man knows everything within man, the same way the wisdom knows inside God all the things, all right? Women know their thoughts that are inside. So they know that they have what is showing you that they have a desire to cheat and to go into lust and to do all of that. She has a husband already. All right. The women lusting in their minds after their forms gave birth to giants, for the watchers appeared to them as reaching even onto heaven. And we see that today for stars and different stuff. We see that for Chris Brown. These women taking pictures with Chris Brown and they have a husband at home or whatever, and Chris Brown's having the picture and stuff, and you see them hugging up and booty in the air. They're like, yo.
If I'm not mistaken, I think one broke up or they were supposed to.
Yeah,
be
a
married.
husband broke up with it. Yeah, the man broke up with it because he's seen the picture online viral. Like, yo, that's my girl. She's hugged up.
Not even a hug. He was holding her.
Yeah, well, that's
like,
what I mean. Yeah.
Not even on the ground a hug. Like he's
Yeah,
holding her in the
he's
air.
holding her. And once again, this is the same stars, what they'll do for stars. The same thing. If a man has his woman right now and she sees a star, what do you think gonna happen?
You know, it's the same thing with Usher with his concerts, and he's giving cherries. And
Yeah. We see right now, Drake, what do you think the number one people don't like him right now? Because if he sees you, if he knows, guess what? I'm a star. I know that I can DM your girl and she can come to the OVO mansion. And she's gonna what? She's gonna be like, oh my, this is the guy, da, 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 da. This star power. That's the men of renown. That's the renown these men had to be able to take women even from those who they've coveted with.
Yeah, it's more hidden now.
Yeah. Everybody knows once you're around the stars, you know that, yo, you're here because most likely if you're not gonna break it open for the stars, you're gonna be gone. They're gonna kick you out.
I think what's on Trey Songz' nickname, Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Yeah, Mr. Studio Girl, all of them. This is what these men do. So for us, we'd be like, yo, you would hate these men because these men, if you have a woman, they're going to take your woman because they're saying, I'm a star, which that energy and behavior and spirit is coming from the fallen ones. All right. So they gave birth to giants after this happened. So all of this was in control of the women. So this is why there's certain punishment that transpires with them. All right, so we're going to continue.
It's the book of 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 30. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tied her head and looked out the window.
All right, so Jehu's coming to Jezreel, all right, and Jezebel heard of it, and she's now, once again, man is coming. What is she? She's getting ready to do what? To deceive, paint her face, tie up her head. And this is an era where they started happening because we were outside and I'm like, yo, all of a sudden, yo, you couldn't see a woman with her hair out and you couldn't see them without the makeup. And it's like, yo, even one time I remember we were in this area and there was this no girl that always, like, when she's time to do her hair, she'd make sure no one sees her. You cannot see her if she's not done up. She literally came out and she, everything like a star, everything ran into the car and back out. Right, because once again, when they come out, they want to make sure they're able to have this certain look. And this is, once again, we're seeing stemming from Jezebel. She's like, oh, man's coming. Once again, she's going into, where did this craft come from? We've seen where this craft came from. All right, so we're going into painted. When they say Jezebel painted, what did she do?
This is the Strong's word for paint, H6320, pook, from an unused root word meaning to paint dye, specifically stibium for the eyes, fair colors, glistering, paint, painted, painting.
All right, so fair colors, paint, stibium for the eyes. So we're going to go into stibium for the eyes, all right, but fair colors.
All right, so this is stibial etymology, which is an adjective, like or resembling atimony. 1660s with al plus stibium, lac for black atimony. Also used as a word in English, alternative stibic from medieval Latin stibicus is from 1600s, compare antimony, also from 1660s.
All right, so we're going to continue.
All right, this is antimony etymology, which is a noun, early 15th century. Black antimony, antimony sulfide, a powder used medicinally and in alchemy, from Old French antimone, and directly from medieval Latin antimonium, that's 11th century, a word of obscure origin, Probably it is a Latinization of the latter Greek stimi, powdered antimony, black antimony, a cosmetic used to paint the eyelids, from an Arabic source such as al-Atmud, unless the Arabic word is the Greek and the Latin is from Arabic, which would explain the A as the Arabic direct article al. Probably it is ultimately from Egyptian STM or stim, powdered antimony. The substance was used there as a cosmetic from at least 3000 BCE.
All right, so we're seeing that this black substance, all right, is powdered and it's used for the eyelids. And this is where we have the picture right there. So this is what Jezebel was doing. She went to put makeup on. She went to give herself a more alluring appearance. All right, so once again, these techniques came from somewhere. Even today, because how are they making this? Where is this stuff coming from? They're coming from different materials where did they learn to make these materials? Even right now, a lot of the materials are very inorganic materials that they're making for these things. All right, so we're at 1 Corinthians 11 and 10. And once again, all these things are transpiring as Christ said. It will be transpiring when Christ is coming back. Because once again, he said they were eating, they were marrying, they were drinking, they were given in marriage. All these things will happen when he's on the way back. The same thing. All right, so we're at 1 Corinthians 11 and 10.
For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head because of the angels.
All right, now we're going into the head wrap. Why did they put thing on their head? Now we're starting on here. He told you why. But now we're going to elaborate why. Now it's going to make more sense. For this cause, woman ought to have power on her head because of the angels. So your head wrap is power. What kind of power? All right, let's go. Let's see.
So the definition for power is Greek word G1849, exousia, from G1832 in the sense of ability, privilege, that is, subjectively, force, capacity, competency, freedom, or objectively, mastery, concretely, magistrate, superhuman, potentate, token of control, delegated influence, authority, jurisdiction, liberty, power, right, strength.
All right, so what is it showing? All right, so God said for this cause, why? Why do they have to wear this on their head? He said because for them to have power on their head because of the angels. Why? What happened with the angels? Angels lusted after them. So what is this power? The power that the head wrap is giving them is showing that you have a token of control. Now, I put the Islamic one because they take it too far. He just said power on your head. All right, now they're covering up everything. But once again, it's symbolic of power on your head. God now seeing, hey, you want to do this, let him put power, let him put jurisdiction over you, authority over you, a hedge over you, because you're showing, guess what? I don't want to what? Have revelation of the flesh. So you're showing control of the revelation of the flesh by showing the head wrap. And once again, using it, it's said to use it for in prayer and time of things. So it didn't even say all the time, but once again, God is the one who knows the true intent of the woman in her heart. And he's given the woman this thing as a symbol of power, a token of control, or her saying she's willing to control herself, all right, and recognize what has happened from before. It's a recognition.
Wouldn't it be wisdom giving it to her, giving those things to her as the aspect of, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely, it's wisdom giving it to her,
Okay,
all right? But it's the Most High that's governing in the whole thing. Correct. All right. And once again, showing, hey, she has a token of control. Hey, you're under this jurisdiction. All right. Usually when you see a woman with a head wrap, you're like, all right, she's more on the, you're not thinking, oh, these different stuff. You're not thinking, oh, she's partying, this and that. Blah, blah. It's more on the, she's either, not to say she doesn't do that. She's in her chill mode right now. Not to say that's her nature, but she's in her calm, peaceful, natural self right now, head wrapped up. It's just a different thing about a woman in a head wrap that's going to send a signal off. Not to say that will stop the lust over there, because we have the story of Susanna in the scriptures, all of that, right? It will still continue, right? But now she had that extra thing on her where the Most High is looking at her to make sure, even though they wanted to do whatever to her, it didn't transpire. All right. So women have power on their head through the head wrap, which shows a token of control. All right. So we're at Daniel 4:13.
I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and a holy one came down from heaven. And jump to verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men.
All right. So once again, why did we go here? We went to show that, hey, there's watchers watching. Daniel saying, I saw the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher, a holy one came down from heaven. All right. So we're seeing the watchers are the sons of God. They come down from heaven. All right. He's showing us, hey, this matter is a decree by the watchers. All right. A demand by the word of the Holy One. So these watchers are holy ones. All right. What is a watcher? We're going to go into a watcher.
This is the Strong's definition for watcher, H5894, Chaldee, from a root corresponding to H5782, a watcher, that is an angel, in parentheses, as guardian watcher. And there's also H5782, which is or, a primitive root, rather identical with H5783, through the idea of opening the eyes, to wake, literally or figuratively. Awake, awaken, awaken, wake up, lift up self, master, raise up, stir up self.
All right. So we're seeing that the watcher comes from the word ear, which is a word that basically showing that, hey, you're awake. Your eyes are open. You're awake. You're raised up. They're awake. All right. So these watchers, they stay up, meaning they stay watching. They stay with their eyes on mankind. And just going back again. All right. Going back again. All right, right here, what were they seeing? All right, they were seeing beautiful women were painted. All right, they were beautiful, painted, curled. What is that curled? We even had a comment in here. I've had past it, curled being the BBL enhancements. All right, and we even went into that when we're going and we're seeing the woman, because women came from these giants too. These women that came, that they were renowned, that had men under even more control. Your Astar and all of that, they had big booties, big breasts. This is where they're copying the BBLs and all of that from the woman of these giants. Because they had what? Extra regular booty. Extra regular breasts.
Wouldn't their hair be curled? Wouldn't it be like curled as in their hair is curled?
Yeah, but we wouldn't go into curl here. Yeah. Curl your body. That's a curve. Body is curves. Yes. Curl. Boom. Curl, when you see curl on the girl's hair, that's a nice curl. Yeah. They were curled, yes. Which means they're in shape. And then we went to other ones to show that they mentioned about the figure. They had beautiful figures.
What were they wearing back in the certain centuries? You know, they were wearing corsets to make those curls.
Yeah. But in this day, there's no corset, nothing. It was just nakedness. It was just body being shown. And them having, this is before the flood, this is their eating good, there's body. All right, so
They were getting that
good food. All right, before the flood food. Close to the garden food. Yeah, correct. So walking with revelation of the flesh, imagination of wickedness, all of that. All right, we're about to wrap it up in some moments. All right, we're not going to go too far. All right, we're just going to end it off in these last 2 pages here. All right, so we're at Clementine Homilies 8.
This is Clementine Homilies 8, chapter 12, Metamorphosis of the Angels. For of the spirits who inhabit the heaven, the angels who dwell in the lowest region, being grieved at the ingratitude of men to God, asked that they might come into the life of men, that, really becoming men, by more intercourse they might convict those who had acted ungratefully towards him, and might subject every one to adequate punishment. When therefore their petition was granted, they metamorphosed themselves into every nature, for being of a more godlike substance, they are able to easily assume any form. So they became precious stones and goodly pearl, and the most beauteous purple and choice gold, and all matter that is held in most esteem. And they fell into the hands of some, and into the bosom of others, and suffered themselves to be stolen by them. They also changed themselves into beasts and reptiles, and fishes and birds, and into whatsoever they pleased. These things also the poets among yourselves, by reason of fearlessness, sing, as they befell, attributing to one the many and diverse goings of all.
All right. So it says, for the spirits who inhabit inhabit the heavens, the angels who dwell in the lowest region, all right, were grieved by ingratitude to men. All right. Asked that they might come into the life of men. So these watchers, these were angels that asked specifically, hey, we want to watch mankind. We want to help them. We want to help them. So they were, once again, they're like, yo, these guys are falling off. They think that you could do better. They're like, can we help them? Like, we think we can help them in their lives.
That's some City of Angels stuff right
Right? So they asked God, hey, that they might come into the life of men, and that really becoming men, by more intercourse, they might convict those. So they try to basically be Christ before Christ. Be like, yo, we could come and I think we could help them come to God fully. Right? And make men who are ungrateful towards God subject everyone, all right, to adequate punishment. All right, so basically they're trying to group everybody up, and whoever is not going to agree, they're going to be subject to punishment. So they're thinking they could already get everybody into this mode of, hey, worshiping God, and anyone who's not punished. All right, and they wanted the opportunity to come into the flesh to do it. All right, and it shows you wherefore the Most High granted their petition, and they were able to change themselves, metamorphose themselves into every nature, being more godlike substance. And this is where these books like this come from. All right, I don't know if the youth know it in here. Do they still show Animorphs on TV? Anyone want Animorphs? No, never heard of Animorphs? The book? You ever seen the book Animorphs? Oh man, I'm getting old, huh? All right, but that's why the picture's in there. All right, so this picture is from a book when I was young. This book was out, all different series of the book, Animorphs. Every one episode, these people could change into an animal, do all of this stuff. So it was called Animorphs. All right, but that's the best picture I could give for metamorphosizing and the angels changing into whatever they want. All right, which came from this book, which was called Animorphs. They did have a TV show called Animorphs too as well. All right, so once again, they asked to change into the stuff of a being of a more godlike substance. All right, they are able to assume any form. All right, so they became precious metals, stones, all of this stuff. So angels are able to do that. That's why you see genie in the bottle, all of this different stuff. Right, they also change themselves into beasts, reptiles, fishes, birds, into whatsoever they please. So angels could change into whatever they want. And once again, they showed you that all the poets and all the old time myths and all of that sing about and write about these things that transpired. All right, so we're just going to go further into Clementine Homilies 8. We're at chapter 13.
Clementine Homilies 8, chapter 13, the fall of the angels. But when, having assumed these forms, they convicted as covetous those who stole them, and changed themselves into the nature of men, in order that, living holily, and showing the possibility of so living, they might subject the ungrateful to punishment, yet having become in all respects men, they also partook of human lust, and being brought under its subjection, they fell into cohabitation with women, and being involved with them, and sunk in defilement and altogether emptied of their first power, were unable to turn back to the first purity of their proper nature, their members turned away from their fiery substance, for the fire itself being extinguished by the weight of lust, and changed into flesh, they trod the impious path downwards. For they themselves, being fettered with the bonds of flesh, were constrained and strongly bound, wherefore they have no more been able to ascend into the heavens.
All right, so it's showing you when having assumed these forms, they convicted as covetous those who stole them, and themselves into the nature of men. All right. So once again, they wanted to come into the flesh, all right, and teach men how to live holy, all right, showing the possibility of living so, all right. All right, so it shows that when they put on this flesh, they also partook of human lust. So they didn't understand that asking to be like a man and putting on the flesh, you're gonna take on this lust. So we see that the angels weren't exempt from the lust of the flesh. This is why we have to understand what Christ did, how he came into the flesh, fought all of human lust off, and saved us. Christ did that. So the angels took it on, and they were unable to deal with the flesh of man and what we have to deal with. And they felt the same thing that they were looking at us and saying, yo, oh man, they're being grateful to the Most High, all of that. They didn't understand that we're in flesh. They're not in flesh. This flesh puts heaviness on us. This flesh that Adam allowed sin to come into, all right, is very difficult to manage and listen to God under. So once again, they partook of the flesh. Now they're dealing with human lusts. Now they're brought under the lust's subjection, and they're now falling into cohabitation with women. Now they're marrying women. Now they're committing adultery, marrying women who have husbands. Yes.
I have a question. So what happens to the angels? Are they still living to this day?
We're going to get into all of that. All right. So it's not going to be going into this part, but just to answer your thing, they eventually, once again, they get punished. Right. So this is where they go into total punishment. All right. Into darkness, where they say into the sky, where they say, hey, this is where some of the planets coming from. All right. And the women, they eventually turn into sirens. So this is where you hear the stories of mermaids, this and that, all of that stuff. All right. The tattoo that Rihanna has from Egypt, Isis, all of that with the wings. These are the women. This is what the women who defiled and went, this is what they got changed into. So that's what eventually happened to them. And then the children from them, the giants, which once again, Clash of the Titans, all those movies, once they fought each other off and died, they never got bodies or anything. They became demons, spirits. So that's where now where we're talking about a spirit, that's the children of them. That's not the woman or the men that did the sin. That's the children who then died, and now they're roaming around as spirits, demons. So that's what transpired. So there's three things that transpired. The angels, they went into outer darkness, all right, and was put in chains until a period of time. The women got changed into mermaids, right? Sirens that they call them, that they had wings and all of this stuff. They live in the waters, all of this stuff. And the children, they got turned into spirits, demons. That's what troubled people goes into people. All right. Which we'll all be elaborating on. All right, so they slept with the woman, they took on the flesh, they cohabited with the women, being involved with them, sunk into defilement, emptied out of their first power. So and you can watch this, all right? Watch the movie we call City of Angels with Nicolas Cage. All right. So in that movie, Nicolas Cage, who's an angel, he falls in love with a human woman, he sleeps with the woman, and then he realizes he can't go back into heaven. So he lost the power to be able to go back. And that's what they're saying. When the angels did this and slept with women, they lost their power to be able to go back to heaven. And that's why they're now called fallen, because they can't get back to where they came from. All right, so they were unable to turn back to the first purity of their proper nature. Their members turned away from their fiery substance, for the fire itself being extinguished by the weight of lust, changed into flesh. So their fiery substance that made them an angel, when they created lust and they dealt with what they dealt with, all right, it changed their nature forever. All right, and no more are they able to ascend into heaven. All right, and we'll stop there. All right, so we'll stop it right there. All right, so we'll go to Philippians 4 and 8.
This is the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true.
All right, so what's true? It's true that what? That there were giants before the flood and after. All right, it's true that the fallen angels right, seen women and lusted after them. It's true that what happened, it wasn't just lusted after them. Why they lust after them? Because women began to show revelation of the flesh, which is their body. They began to paint it. They began to be sexual in nature and expose themselves more. It's true that the angels, the watchers, came down and mated with them, had children who became what's known as giants, who became renowned in the world. All the stories, Jack and the Beanstalk, all these stories all coming from these individuals. Zeus, Xena, all of it. All right, continue for us.
Whatsoever things are honest,
All right, being honest with ourselves. Why God, Christ says, as the coming of, all right, as the days of Noah, so shall be the coming of the man. And he told us they were eating, drinking, giving into marriage. Right? We have to be honest with ourselves. Women have to be honest with themselves. Females have to be honest with themselves and understand that there's things that transpired before the flood that we have to be aware of and make sure that we're not partaking of, that could bring the whole thing back about again, which is inevitably going to come back, as Christ said. All right, we must be honest with ourselves in dealing with the revelation of the flesh and handling it in a certain way. All right, women having power on their head because of the angels, because of what the angels, what happened with them. All right, continue with us.
whatsoever things are just,
All right, so it was just. The punishments that came about to the woman especially was just because they were approached, they weren't forced, they had husbands, and they chose to go and do these sins. So the punishments that came from these things was just punishments. And even with the Most High bringing the flood, he gave 120 years of Noah preaching and warning and telling people to change. So everything that happened was just. Continue for us.
whatsoever things are pure,
What's pure? All right. Pure is dealing with the Most High. All right. Pure is not giving revelation of the flesh. All right. But covering it up so that what? It doesn't entice others. Not that you can't. Not that we know, hey, all nature is supposed to be that way. But knowing that, hey, people have sinful desires and you don't want to be the cause of those sinful desires. And you don't want someone to wake up and at your doorway, at your step, all right, drunken in lust, that wants some of you. And, you know, sadly, it happens too much to women where, you know, the R word happens where these men outside start to do that. And this is happening a lot in the city with immigrants, all of that stuff coming into the city and can't get it themselves, but then seeing what? Culture that they're not used to. They're seeing revelation of the flesh that they don't see in their homeland. And now that makes them go outside at nighttime. All right. And a lot of this is being held off of the news. All right. But continue for us.
whatsoever things are lovely,
All right. What's lovely? Lovely is when we're living in unison. Lovely is when we're on top of the mountain in the kingdom of God, in the church of God, away from the children of Cain, away from the revelation of the flesh and dealing with the spirit. Continue for us.
whatsoever things are of good report,
What's of good report? The same things. Being on the mountain, as Enoch said, doing the things of the Lord, not worrying about Cain, not worrying about the lust of the flesh, not worrying about the revelation of the flesh, not worrying about dealing with every imagination of the heart, but on the mount, dealing and praising and honoring God. So to some people that sounds boring, uncool, not right. All right, but continue for us.
if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which you have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the God of peace shall be with you.
All right, so once again, we want to say all praises be unto the Most High Almighty, Ahaya Shahaya Christ, our Lord, our God, our Savior, who the world calls Jesus Christ, ignorantly. This is the SC Community Church of Christ. My name is Archbishop Shamar.
And I'm Bishop Arak.
And this was our Sabbath report / lesson. All right, fallen angels and giants, the revelation of the flesh. We want to say all praises. Enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. All right, and enjoy the Lord's Day tomorrow. We deal with both days, knowing that the Sabbath is a representation of the 1,000-year rest, and the Lord's Day is a representation of the new heaven and new earth with no death. All right, with that being said, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Guard your flesh, guard your thoughts, guard your mind. And once again, women, have power on your head because of the angels. Peace and blessings.
Blessings, blessings, blessings.
Only the children of light is gonna understand this.
For there are three philosophical sects among the Jews, the followers of the first of which are the Pharisees, of the second, the Sadducees, and the third sect, which pretends to a severer discipline, are called Essenes. These last are Jews by birth and Jews by birth.
This is another